Hi, I'm Danielle, the Salty Cooker, and I'm in Amoretti's test kitchen to make Cappuccino-Tiramisu Eclairs. We're going to use Amoretti's Cappuccino-Tiramisu extract in the chocolate glaze to give it a little bit of a different holiday flair. We're going to start by adding the dry ingredients into a bowl and mix those together. So let's go ahead and get our flour. This is a gluten-free and dairy-free recipe, but you're more than welcome to use it using full dairy, full gluten products. It works just as well. Okay, and then the next step is we're gonna go ahead and add our water and our butter into a pot over medium heat to get it boiling. So what we're going to do is just get this going over medium heat. We're going to add in our flour or our dry mixture into there. So it's going to become kind of like a paste. We're going to add it into our mixing bowl and then add the eggs in one at a time. This is one of my all-time favorite dishes, and it always reminds me of growing up. My mom would make puff pastries and different pastry dishes like this. And we would always, my brother and I would always get like the leftover pieces. So, and I'm going to show you towards the end here once we pull them out of the oven, but the insides of them have always been my favorite part. And this is just going to take a little bit to get going. This is a really fun dish to make ahead of time and then serve it for the holidays. Your friends, your family, everyone's going to absolutely love this. And the fun part is, especially with eclairs, is you can do so much with the pastry cream. You can do, today we're going to do your standard vanilla bean pastry cream, but you can add in, if you wanted to add in a little bit of the extract into it and make it more of just a full tiramisu eclair, that would be absolutely delicious. And they're really easy to make up too. So you can make them a couple days ahead of time. What I would recommend to do is to make your pastry shells. Go ahead and just set those aside. You can make your cream, put it in the fridge, and put it together, maybe an hour ahead of time before you're going to serve it to your friends and family. Another thing you can do with this is make cream puffs, which are one of my all-time favorite too. If you love eclairs, you're gonna love cream puffs. And you can always fill that with ice cream too and do a little bit of a fudge sundae on top. A lot of people find that eclairs, and at least when I've received a lot of messages on Instagram and Facebook and all the different platforms, I keep getting a lot of questions on, is there an easy way to do this? Or, it just seems kind of like an intimidating recipe. You'll normally find it at like a French pastry type of bakery, but it's really not. It's a lot easier than people think. So we're getting it to boiling. We're gonna go ahead and just reduce the heat, add in our dry ingredients into the mixture, mix it up into a dough ball, and we're almost done. And it's really as easy as that. And again, you can do so much with a pastry like this. You just want to make sure that you work out all the dry ingredients into the mixture, because you don't want to have like a little flour pocket or anything like that in there. Okay, let's get that off the heat and into our mixer. I'm just going to do one more round. Looking good. Now we're just going to add in our eggs one at a time. So we're going to add them in, mix it up, and then finish off this part here. I just did an interview for a cooking show contest, and they're like, what's one kitchen tool that you absolutely have to have? like KitchenAid mixer, absolute must. Okay. And if you're entertaining for a big group, you can easily double this recipe as well, which you may want to. Between my husband and I, we went through these eclairs within 2 days. And I went to go give one to my mother-in-law and my mother-in-law, let me say that again, and my husband was upset. Okay, last one in. Now we're just going to scrape down the sides, make sure that it comes to, you want it to be more like a form ball, kind of like a bread dough. Make sure it's all incorporated. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and get it in our pastry bag. All right, let's go ahead and fill our pastry bag here. And so you can do this a couple different ways. If you have a large tip, you can go ahead and use that. Otherwise, you could even get like a Ziploc bag and just cut the end off where it's about, I'd say about 1/2 inch diameter. And this part can get a little bit messy, but hey, it's gonna happen when you're baking. You're just gonna work it down. I'm making a little bit of a mess, so let's go ahead and start piping some of this on there. And then I'll fill it back up. So you want to pipe them about 5 inches long. And they don't have to be perfectly even, but about 5 inches. And if you find that it's sticking, I just scrape it, but you can also use a knife or scissors, work really well. And they will puff up a little bit. It's not going to be as much as, you know, maybe like 1 inch, give it around for puffing up, but you don't need that much room. We're gonna bake the Eclair shells at 425 degrees for 15 minutes. Reduce the temperature down to 350, and it's really important that you keep the oven door closed. Don't open it through this baking time, otherwise your shells may collapse. So just keep the door closed, put on your timer, and just trust the time that it's gonna work. So let's go and get them in the oven. The next step is gonna be making the cream. One of my personal favorite all-time desserts, because I could just sit down and eat the whole pot myself. So we're gonna go ahead and start by getting the milk portion. You want it warm, a very low type of boil. You don't want it to have a rapid boil. So we're gonna add in our oat milk. And again, you're more than welcome to change this to where it is full dairy if you choose. And we're gonna go ahead and add 2 vanilla beans. We're going to split them and add them into the pot. The smell of vanilla beans, oh, it's just one of my favorites. That one's going in. Okay, so we're gonna do like a medium-low heat on this. Get that going. Next step is gonna be separating our eggs. And everybody has their personal preference on how they're separating eggs. I'm very old school on my technique, but it works. The great part with this portion of the recipe is you can use this and you can, again, modify the flavors if you want. If you want to add some of the extract into it to give it more of that Cappuccino-Tiramisu flavor, you could definitely do that. Or if you wanted to add in a little bit of chocolate and the flavoring, that would be so delicious. Actually, I need to try that. I keep talking about that. I definitely need to try that. We just went to a gluten-free bakery, another IG friend recommended, and one of their eclairs was a, I think it was like a cappuccino or a coffee flavor, like the whole thing. I'm just like, that is a genius idea. That sounds amazing. Okay, so I'm just gonna clean this up, get a larger bowl, and then we're gonna start to mix this up here. Okay, so we're gonna add the rest of the ingredients into the bowl, mix it up, and then we're going to temper the eggs together. This comes together really quick. The hardest part is just waiting for it to actually cool and set in the fridge, which I am not good at. You'll always find me. Okay, we're just doing a pinch of salt. But this goes really good. If you wanted to do like, even like a coconut cream pie, this is a really good mixture. And this doesn't have to be mixed up all the way. You just want to make sure that those eggs are broken up into the sugar mixture some. So you can see how it is boiling up there. We just want to make sure that vanilla bean gets all the goodness out of there. And we're just going to press it down some. And normally when I do this, I do make 2 batches at the same time because I will pick at it and just eat it constantly while it's in the fridge. So you'll always see me, I mean, my husband's always catching me, what are you doing in the fridge again? Always pulling out a spoonful while it's cooking. Okay, so we're gonna temper the eggs, and we're gonna do this really slow because we wanna make sure that we don't scramble the eggs. So you'll just wanna have a ladle and just do a little bit at once. I always swear doing Eclairs, pastry, anything like that is the best arm workout ever. I swear afterwards I'm just like, man, my right arm is just going to be huge. Okay, add a little bit more in. And you can see all those pretty vanilla beans in the bottom, or the seeds coming out. I tend to add a little bit more into this bowl versus pouring it in than you'll see a lot of people do, just because I've had it happen a couple times where, you know, I didn't temper it long enough, or maybe the eggs weren't room temperature long enough and it ends up scrambling. So I normally do like 3 to 4 times into the bowl, make sure everything's good, and then I add it back to the pot to cook. Okay, that looks good. So we're going to go ahead and add it to the pot. Now I have the heat turned off, so we're going to keep it turned off until I get everything added. We're going to whisk really quick because, again, we want to make sure that we don't scramble the eggs. That can be a little bit of a bummer. You're going to be starting over, but do that. And you can either leave the vanilla beans in, take them out. I always leave them in because I just want to get as much of that flavor in there as possible. Okay, let's go ahead and get it turned on. We're going to do medium to medium low heat. And make sure that you're scraping the sides as well. That's a really important part. As soon as you start to feel it where it's getting thicker, and then, you know, you'll see it here in a second, but it's going to start to get thicker and it builds up on the sides. That's when you know that it's coming together. Turn off the heat. If you wanted to add some flavoring into the custard, you could go ahead and add, I would say start with 1 teaspoon, see if you like it with that flavor, and then just add on from there. Maybe you'll want to do 2 teaspoons if you're looking for a lot more of a strong flavor. That's easy to say. The cream's done, so we're going to go ahead and add it to a glass bowl. Oh, it smells so good. Okay. Cover it with some plastic wrap, and then if you don't want the skin on top, you're just going to press down on the plastic wrap and put it in the fridge. Wait for it to wait for it to be completely cool before you fill up your pastry. Next part is the glaze, and it's really simple. We're just doing a dark chocolate, and this is where our ingredient from Amoretti is going to be coming in. We're going to add a teaspoon of that in to give it that Cappuccino-Tiramisu flavor. So let's go ahead and start by melting the chocolate. We're going to go ahead and add 1 teaspoon of Amoretti's Cappuccino-Tiramisu flavoring. And this, I mean, chocolate and anything coffee flavor goes together so well. It just really enhances the chocolate like no other. Okay, so let's go ahead and assemble those eclairs. Get that mixed up. And we're ready to eat. So now the fun part, we're gonna go ahead and like finish off and make our eclairs. So the next step is everything is completely cooled except for the chocolate, but we're just going to cut these down the center. You can either take a fork or a spoon and just kind of pull out the center there. Do that on both sides. And so this used to be also my favorite part. When my mom would make huge batches of this for her catering and stuff like that. We were never allowed to actually have, you know, like the cream puff or the eclair, but we could always have the filling, the skin to the pudding. So those have always been my favorite parts. So as you can see, it was, I mean, it's really easy to make. I'd say the most tedious part, at least in my opinion, is just getting it in the pastry bag. Getting it in the pastry bag and out, but really, I mean, it's easy. It's a fun dish to make. You can change up the flavors. And putting it together doesn't take but maybe 5-10 minutes, depending how many you're making. And one thing that would be really fun too, especially with it being the holidays, if you wanted to use like a white chocolate and do like red and green or anything like that on top, change it up. Okay, so the next part is our pastry cream. You're just gonna pipe that in the center. I'm not gonna lie, this makes me so hungry. Let's see, make sure. And I normally go a little bit easy on the pastry cream just to make sure I got enough for everything, and then go back and fill in any parts that it makes sense. And then you're just going to take your top, dip it in the chocolate. And you can either put it directly on there or on the side. Actually, I'll go ahead and set them on the side for now. Lots of chocolate on there. Is there any better combination than chocolate and vanilla? It's just so good. Maybe the next step will be like a Eclair cake. There we go. And if you're wanting to make sure that they're more evenly covered, you can always take a spoon and put it over the edges, but I think that looks really good. I'm just gonna let this cool for just a couple minutes and then go ahead and finish them off. Let's go ahead and put the tops on here. And if your chocolate is still a little bit soft, like you can see it is here, you can always pop these in the fridge and it'll harden up in just a few minutes. Who's hungry? I'm hungry. Let's eat these. And there we go. Thank you for watching. Hope that you try the recipe, and check me out if you want to see some more recipes at the Salty Cooker. That's my social media handle across the board. And make sure to check out Amoretti for all their pantry staples. Go ahead and just hit like on this video and make sure to follow them.